Cool. All right, what's good, everybody? It's your boy PsydeShow, along with Evelyn and Skeptic. This is the Devil's Work podcast, a podcast where we watch a lot of fucked up movies and explain them to you, so you don't gotta watch them. But it's a lot more fun when you watch them.
Yeah.
We would have called ourselves Trauma by Proxy.
That was taken.
Is it taken?
We'll figure it out. That'll be the next name.
Yeah. If anyone ever comes for this name, we got Plan B ready.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about Saint Maud. This is an A24 film directed by Rose Glass. It came out, was it 20? So the release date is weird for this one.
Yeah, because of COVID.
Intended to be out 2019, and I think it ended up dropping end of 2020 into 2021, maybe?
Here, anyway, in this country.
Yeah, in the States.
I think it hit its first festival in 2019, maybe. But it didn't get its wide release.
That's what it was, yeah.
Because no one was, I guess no theaters open, but maybe it also wasn't ready for streaming.
Yeah,
Everyone was just holding their breath for Tenet.
Dude, man, the disappointment. No, I was
that's where I was okay, because I was like, Nolan fell off years ago.
I just was so excited for this movie in particular. Like, I had seen just the posters, and it just like the teasers, all that little, like, just that alone was enough to be like,
very enticing.
I am all in.
Yeah.
Whatever this is. And then I heard that it's their take on a possession movie, and I'm like,
yeah, even
more fucking in. Like, are you kidding me? That sounds incredible. So
I mean, there's a certain weight behind it being a A24 movie.
Exactly.
This is our first A24 movie.
Oh my god, of many, baby.
Which is so funny, yeah. I mean, we're so early in, like, obviously we're going to be doing a lot of firsts, but, like, I don't know, it still just feels funny sometimes.
Yep.
Being like, oh wow, the first Miike movie.
Yep, exactly. Because then we're going to be like 30 deep, and then
exactly.
That's where it's all started.
This is also our first from the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we watch movies in English sometimes.
On occasion.
We decided to go ahead and choose this one because, I mean, I personally was blown away by the movie when I first saw it. I know it was very divisive movie when it was actually seen. I mean, I remember hearing a lot of different things about it online being positive and negative.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to talk about this one just because of all of the subtext and everything, but like generally it does mean different things to different people.
Yeah. I don't think you can argue that as a debut feature it is very, very impressive.
Extremely.
That's undebatable.
Yeah, extremely.
It's very unconventional in its structure and like the things it chooses to focus on, and you sort of expect like almost a grander narrative, but what it is like, despite being a possession film, like in so many ways, like it's really grounded,
very much
in a strange way as well, where it's like very day-to-day and mundane.
Absolutely. But like it takes its time, even though it's a very tight movie. It's a very, like, it's an hour and 20 minutes, like, if that, like.
It's like maybe like 75 to 78 minutes when you think about credits.
Credits, exactly, included. But it's fucking phenomenal. Like, the pacing of this movie is perfect, I feel.
I mean, it's better to want more than to be bored.
Absolutely.
And the cinematography is gorgeous.
Those upside down shots,
dude,
when those start coming in, those are just like,
the staircase when it like moves, it starts shifting. I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, this is one of, and we'll get to it, but one of my favorite scenes probably in cinematic history. Like, I don't know, I don't want to spoil it, but that one scene, you know what scene I'm talking about?
That one scene.
Gorgeous. Fucking gorgeous.
It's got some of the most like justified and measured use of CGI.
Yeah.
Like the CGI that is there is like a little fantastical, but it's like it rides the line perfectly where like feels ethereal, and it's like, yes, it shouldn't feel like this is like a physical object or like a real thing. So it rides that line perfectly. It's like one of those things where like budget and intention line up like perfectly. Not to say that it feels like a cheap film.
No, not at all.
But like they didn't waste any money.
Yeah.
They didn't spend any money on anything they didn't need to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like everything feels like it got its time to breathe. All the characters, you get an idea for who they are, even if it's just a quick scene with them. Like, yeah, it's again pacing.
Very economical.
Exactly. So, I mean, we want to start off with, you can watch this right now. I think we all watched this on Prime.
Yeah.
As of this recording.
For those who have an account, it is free.
Yeah. I mean, I would recommend purchasing this movie if you ever had a chance, though, because this movie is worth adding to your collection for sure.
If there's a director's commentary on the DVD, that would make it like worth it alone. I would definitely be interested to hear like some thought process on this.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're gonna get into.
Oh my God! Did you guys just hear that?
What happened?
I think like a truck drove by you or something.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it was just like that. Straight sounded like a string. Like swell. That just sounded like right as we were getting started. They were just like,
let's go.
Oh man! Now that we have the IMAX intro,
yeah, that was a little scary.
It's amazing.
Very ominous.
So the trigger warnings for this one are going to include gore and sexual assault.
And self-harm.
And self-harm for sure. Yeah, that's okay. That was the one we missed. But those were all we sort of picked up on. Did you have any to add? Because I don't know,
without breaking it down into a bunch of subcategories.
I mean, there's a couple shots of people getting shots for people that are afraid of needles specifically. Yeah, and it's nothing. It's like all medical in nature.
Yeah.
But
body trauma.
Yeah, this is very much a body horror.
Yeah. I would say that's really the only thing that we missed is just that in specific, because I know that's just a common phobia. People don't like to see that specifically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good. So yeah, if you're interested in watching a very quick, very powerful take on possession, I would say a very unique take on this sort of like subject matter for sure.
Yes.
If you're interested in checking this one out, please do. You can pause it here, come back and listen, but we're going to get into it right now. So, starting off, Maud is sitting in a corner of a hospital operating room with blood on her hands and her face, and she's staring at the ceiling. There's no introduction other than that. You just get images of bloody nurse on the floor.
Something has gone terribly wrong.
A lost patient for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's okay. Now, yeah, that makes a lot more sense now that you say that actually. But she's just traumatized, and she's kind of just like shaking and looking up, and she's staring at the ceiling, and then on the ceiling you see a bug kind of slowly crawl and make his way across the ceiling. Fade to black, title card. Welcome to St. Maud.
Yep. And then here's the every episode's Amanda quote. When the title sequence starts, she said, "Absolutely unseasoned tomato sauce. Not a drop of seasoning." She was so offended.
I put down macro shots of tomato soup like a lake of hell.
Yeah, dude, it was so bubbly.
I thought it. Oh, sorry.
There are like 3 colors in this film, and they are green, red, and yellow.
Yep.
And they mean things, which is fucking great.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that to get into.
But like, I'll start right now. Fire as a motif. littered throughout
Yeah.
this entire fucking
100%.
Yeah.
It was very obvious from the beginning that it would end in flames.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I caught that on the first viewing, just because I was just like, it's very good at just dropping you in a mystery.
Yeah, but there's flame throughout as a motif for sure. And I was noticing from the outset the color palette of the film. The opening scene in the operating room is
Blue.
green, blue as like super duper. Like all of Maud's lonely times are super green, very uncomfortably sick green.
Yeah.
And she's a very lonely person.
Yes.
Very much so.
Very lonely.
Yes.
So right here we kind of get it, and like you said, that orange or that yellow sort of look, overall tone of this room right now we see is that she's in, it's her apartment, correct? She is making herself a meal, and she's kind of like, they kind of pan over to her bed, and she has everything laid out very neat, very
packing.
very organized person. She's packing. She's getting ready to leave somewhere. She is praying. It starts with the
narration.
Yeah, the narration. Sorry, I'm fucking all over today.
You're
Sorry,
fine.
people. So we get the narration that she's praying to God, and she's talking about a pain in her stomach. It's persistent, and it's only getting worse due to menstruation, is her belief. She's not really sure about her quote unquote like purpose. That's kind of what she's talking about in this narration.
The way that she addresses God is very strange, because she's very, like, she speaks in a very precise way. It is exactly the way she packs. Everything is neat and organized, and she stands up straight, and she's like, "Dear God."
Yeah. It's very proper.
I can't help but feel that you've saved me for something special. And like,
as per my last email.
Yeah, the way that she talks to him, it's almost like she's like a Dwight Schrute to Michael Scott in The Office. Like, she thinks that she's the one, and she's like very demanding of her God.
Yeah.
Which is like a little off-putting. She's very off-putting in a number of different ways.
Very much so.
So you're like a little unsettled by her.
Yeah. We kind of like we like you said, she has these high expectations from like, I'm doing everything proper, I'm doing everything right.
Yeah.
Hurry it up with the good stuff now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
she wants to see that instant gratification, essentially.
Which is especially odd considering, like, a little bit later. This is not necessarily a spoiler, but you learn a little bit later on that she's only been religious for a year.
Very new.
And,
exactly.
Yeah.
And she is treating it like she's supposed to have it all, which is it's very curious.
Very curious. So she as the narration's going on, she's walking past the Coney Island. Is it like an arcade?
Yeah.
It is.
It's an arcade, right?
It's like a beach town, but it's in.
I put a boardwalk, but I don't know if it's like.
It's in Wales.
Okay.
So Amanda is from Rockaway Beach, which is in Queens, New York. So as soon as we saw that, she was like, "That's not Coney Island. What is this?" And was really confused, and she looked it up, and it is in Scarborough, London.
Okay, London.
Interesting.
Okay. I thought it was.
Yeah.
She's Welsh.
She's Welsh. Yeah.
But it's in England.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fascinating. Yeah, so she walks past the Coney Island boardwalk and ends up going up to a massive looking estate. She's presumably its caretaker, because I think a lot of her stuff was just her personal things. I don't know. I got the idea that she's going to care for someone because she gives off nurse vibes.
Yeah, she's doing palliative care one-on-one with one patient. So
she is greeted at the door by a woman who's pretty much in and out. Like, she is, here you go, bye.
Yeah, it's such a great conversation. She's like, how is she, the patient? And the nurse that's leaving is like, bit of a cunt. Have fun.
I just really got the impression from her, as well as, like, from what Maud had previously gone through, whatever it is. Like, obviously something traumatic happened. She lost a patient in a bad way, and it messed her up, and now she's, had to seek religion and atonement.
Yeah.
But through those two things, you really get the impression, and I think that this is probably true in real life, that hospice care and those sort of things, maybe even healthcare in general, is a job that like chews you up and spits you out. That it's like watching people die constantly, like caring for someone, knowing that that's going to be the outcome, doesn't really make like dealing with death less traumatic. Like only certain people are going to be able to like compartmentalize that correctly to like move on and continue in this role. So then to go from like dying person to someone that you would tell someone else is a bit of a cunt, like ungrateful, treating you disrespectfully, you're just like, what, I'm done with this, I'm out.
And we kind of touch on that later on too with the little scene while she's kind of in her spiral towards the end, not giving too much away, but the nurse that she kind of sits down and talks with at the bench,
nurse to nurse talking about what it's like,
and that sort of, when we get to that, shows an example of somebody who like has compartmentalized all of this, because even when she talks to that person because even when she talks to that person, she's like, oh yeah, not sure how much time I have left here. Oh, you're getting fired or something? And she's like, oh no, she's gonna die, and then, but I'm gonna have to like that. Those are just the facts of life. So like, I am here to make these last days better,
comfortable,
but they are the last days.
Oh, but just hearing Maud talk about her patient that she's now taking on, just, I dare say you'll be seeing this one soon. She's like just smugly telling God like, she's on her way.
And I love that so much.
I gotta say, I really love the patient. She's such an interesting character.
Amanda.
Yep. Who is she's a former dancer from America.
Fantastic.
Like very accomplished. Hence her like mansion on the hillside, which I'm realizing is surrounded by greenery. Much to Evelyn's point about like the palette and the things that these things mean.
Moods.
Like she's so lonely and like isolated up there. But to Amanda, the isolation isn't painful, but
it's comfortable.
For Maud, it is.
I think Amanda's a very social creature, but she's chosen to, and this comes up in her conversations with her friends, she's hiding because she doesn't, I think she doesn't want anyone to see her in this state. Vain. Like, she still looks very good, but she has no hair. She has, like, she's deep into cancer.
I put here she has stage. She says they say stage 4 lymphoma. In her spinal
that's
cord.
exactly what I was gonna say. And then like while Maud is taking care of her, because the nurse tells her like, oh, she needs like B vitamin injections before dinner. Which is, just to kind of like stabilize how she feels just from all this different medication.
Yeah, just to be okay. But she's such a stylish person. Like, she still smokes, she still drinks, she wears these
she's
robes.
Cool looking motherfucker, man.
And the house matches her. Like, the house is such a cool, old, like, all the, like, super, like, all the designs on the wallpaper and all this satin curtains and, like, parquet flooring.
It's very from a certain like time period and aesthetic, very classical. And then like you're saying, she's over here smoking cigarettes while she's getting her B12 injections to combat lymphoma. It's just that like, this is one of my luxuries in life, and if I'm stage 4 and these are my last days, I'm gonna enjoy some.
I'm fucking smoking some cigarettes right everywhere I go. You kidding me?
Amanda is a deeply sympathetic. Like, I resonate with Amanda completely.
She's so cool and so calm and collected, and you think like you wanna hope that if you were ever, God forbid, you ever get that news, that you would handle it with such grace like that. You know what I mean?
And it's like, it's sort of like the fact that Maud is the main character, and you're supposed to, in some regard, root for her, and you do in certain ways. she's kind of a bitch.
You root for her to get her shit together.
Yeah, exactly. And she says to God of Amanda, as you know, I have little time for creative types as they tend to be rather self-involved.
Yeah.
And you're like, Amanda is self-involved, but like, she's a famous dancer. Mm-hmm. She's led a very interesting life. Mm-hmm. She's feeling really sorry for herself because it's all over, and she really loves life. Like, yeah, sure, she's self-involved, but like, Maud's job is to be involved in what's going on with Amanda.
Exactly.
So like, that's the whole point.
Yeah, you kind of take yourself out of the equation at that point.
Yeah. So it pits you against, Maud in a way, because you're like, I mean.
Yeah, well, because you kind of see just how wrong things are. Mm-hmm. You see immediately, you catch on to, like, that Maud is going to be your protagonist, but you know that something is not right.
Yeah.
Something doesn't feel right.
All is not well with her.
Exactly. Something doesn't feel right there.
Yeah.
The film just, like, immediately makes its stance on, like, religion known. Just, like, straight away. Mm-hmm. It can be a comfort to people, but some people use it in a way that isn't healthy. Yeah.
So the first thing that she does when she walks in is she puts up a crucifix. Mm-hmm. So like
the minute she gets in her room, she takes down a picture and she puts up the crucifix.
Yeah, exactly. Like
she's moving right in.
That's what I'm saying. So it latches you on to this idea of like she is holding on to religion very tightly. So it gives you this impression that she's been doing this for so long.
Yeah, it seems like this has been her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so they were introduced. That was my next note. Amanda Cole, who is 49 and has stage 4 lymphoma in her spinal cord. That's why Maud says, I dare say you should be seeing this one soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a very bright prognosis.
Absolutely not. We get a few shots of Maud giving her the B12 injections, you said?
Yeah, something like that.
B vitamins. The B vitamins. So the vitamins, injections, and a bath. And Amanda sees while they're stretching the next morning. She's kind of doing the morning routine.
Yeah, it's sort of a sequence of all the care that Maud is doing for her, and it's like your chance to see the characters regard each other. Like Maud is, telling, of course, like a diary. She's telling God everything that she's seeing about Amanda, and then Amanda is observing Maud, and they're stretching together, and Amanda's like, she notices the cross around Maud's neck, and she's like, oh,
falls out.
I see you're religious, and she's like, yep, and she's sort of like buttoned up about it. And then Amanda, who's overall a kind woman, she's like, oh, you're prettier than the last nurse, which sort of is uncomfortable for Maud for whatever reason.
She doesn't know how to receive a compliment,
because
I think.
She's just like chosen to be a very Old Testament style of religious person, for whatever reason. She's just decided, and it's just like a huge theme throughout this movie, that like pain pleases God. Yeah. And your pain should not be wasted. It should all be like God needs his entertainment, like
yeah, so
it's wild. And then I just want to say real quick, when the necklace falls out, she's like, who is that? Who's your saint? Yeah. And she says, Mary Magdalene, which very much, underpins and like foreshadows what we'll see later on. But she's like, I didn't know they made those. And she said, I ordered it online. And I just feel like the idea of ordering your saint online is like very comedic. Fantastic. Like it's very antithetical to what religion is supposed to be, especially when Christianity, especially when you think of, the 10 Commandments and like have no false idols, like.
Right. Like she paid someone to get that.
Exactly, which is it's just a strange concept when you think about what's actually like on the page,
Yeah, exactly. And while she's going, and especially thinking about on the page, she's going through her things while she's just in the house, and she's just kind of like
another weird thing about her is like she's very pious, but she's also just like
she's nosy
as fuck.
she's nosy as fuck, bro.
Yeah, I didn't think about it too deeply because she looks at like I thought they were books that Amanda had written, but maybe they're the recordings that we see throughout the film of
okay,
all of her
tapes,
like dance
tapes.
performances.
That makes sense.
I mean, it's a respectable
books.
kind of, like, the kind of nosing around the house she does is, like, if you're, like, living with someone and you're taking care of them, like, looking through their framed posters and their bookshelves, like, that's not...
It's not too invasive.
Yeah, you could be like, oh, I was browsing your books, and they're like, oh, okay. But, like, the way she seems to be looking for something that she can tell God about later.
Yeah.
She's like investigating. Yeah.
Yes, it progresses for sure. It starts out like, oh, what's on your bookshelf? What movies do you have? And then it turns into like, going through drawers and shit.
Yeah. But it's for a good cause.
I put the one thing that stands out. I think it, like you said, I thought initially it was a book, but yeah, now that you're saying it, you're actually absolutely correct. It probably is the tapes, because the tapes are named "The Body Is a Stage."
Yeah, and it's like a published video of her dance.
Yeah. It's all the
show.
choreography, because she was a choreographer and dancer, so it's like they were showing.
Yeah, it's this great like black and white,
like footage.
artistic dance video from probably like I don't know, like the 80s maybe. Mm-hmm. Contemporary dance.
I just love the title so much because it already gives you the like hint at body horror.
Yeah.
Like that's such a beautiful little like little nod. Like get ready, folks.
And there's a great contrast between Maud and Amanda. Like Maud, her body belongs to God, and everything she does is a devotion to Him.
Yeah.
And Amanda, her body is hers, and she's used it as she's wanted to use it in her life for her art, and now it's broken. Like the fact that it's in her spine is so fucking cruel.
Oh, that's so fucked. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that just seems like to her like a penance for all those things, you know. And it is very much like, you hit it on the head. To Maud and these like again Old Testament sort of, you know, fear of God is holy mindset. Like the body and life is for suffering and pain, so that when you go to heaven, you can then have, you know, good things. Yeah. But to see someone else who uses their body for pleasure in so many ways, she's just like, you know, disgusted on these weird intrinsic levels.
Yeah, very much so. It's very judgy. Very judgy. So I put it's party time, which means Maud needs to make herself scarce. So she ends up taking off, and I think a friend of Amanda's comes over.
Yeah, a gentleman friend comes over, like an old friend.
Yeah, he's an old looking. But
he's
such an asshole.
He doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I hope we're not kicking you out. And Maud's like in the middle of being like, no, I'm going to see a friend, and he's like,
right,
okay.
Cool.
He doesn't give a shit. And she's like,
tell your story walking.
Yeah. And this is the interesting, like, there's the double-sided. When I've watched it before, I thought, you know, all of Amanda's friends are dicks, but like, they're of a, you know, they're like a jet-setting group of people. They're a little bit rude. They're a little bit blind to the intricacies of conversation, but they're not mean people.
Yeah.
They're just sort of unaware that they're being a little blunt,
a little rude.
Yeah,
for sure. But this sparks her going to I put back to the boardwalk.
Yeah.
And she sees a man begging for change in an alleyway. She stops and she gives him change, and then while she's throwing the money in his cup, she says, "May God bless you and never waste your pain." And he says, "I'm sorry?"
He's like, "What?"
I'm sorry, what? Like, and then she's like, like, never mind, bye. I forgot what she says. Like,
she's like, nothing.
Oh yeah, she said nothing, bye.
Yeah, like, she seems a little bit just like in private. She's very, very confident with her faith, but when it comes to talking to anyone about it, she gets very embarrassed.
Yeah,
like she hasn't practiced speaking to anyone about this faith.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a great way of putting that.
Yeah, she really wants to promote it. She wants to share it with people, but she's afraid.
It's almost like she's upset when people aren't obeying the rules in her head.
Yeah, like she can't believe that anyone would not be on the same page as her.
Exactly. And that's like that. that's, I mean, very much. What was, I forgot which mental illness, but it was a sign of that, like kind of delusions that like people are supposed to be on the same page, and it's like you're not. It's not having the ability to grasp that concept that not everyone is going to be.
It's like some breakdown in like being able to socialize. Or
It's
it's more of like a social disorder than a mental illness, perhaps.
Yeah, probably what I was thinking exactly.
Yeah. But just like.
But it's very thematic in this film, for sure.
Yeah. I was going to say she had to, like, look inside and do all these things and find religion to be able to, like, move on after, whatever happened.
Yeah.
And she has that confidence when she's alone. But, yeah, like you're saying, she's just not able to breach that to be able to actually do, like, really push it onto other people.
Yeah, and you get a deep sense of her. There's a bit of agoraphobia when she's out and about.
Yeah,
like she's in this diner, and she's just sitting alone, and she's looking around and she's looking at people, and she's like, "What the fuck is everybody doing in here? This sucks." And it's so green in there. It's green and it's red.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's this like color play. Like she's all like her world is green, and then there's this red element that seems to represent maybe danger, or I'm not sure what. And then back at Amanda's house, it's like warm golden
tones. Yeah,
like anything that Amanda is in is like this warm light.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't help but just feel like it's representing like evil or hell or a feeling of like suffering welling up inside of her of like, I don't want to be here, but like I don't know what to do, like what am I gonna do? And the weird thing is that it's also just like her house is actually nearby, like we know that's her apartment.
She lives at the boardwalk pretty much.
Yeah, so it's like you could just go home, but she just has nothing and no one in her life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like she just decides to go sit for several hours.
And that's why she said I'd be happier. She said I'd be just as happy staying inside in my room.
Yeah, she's like, why did she kick me out of the house when I could have just stayed
out here?
I think she says something along the lines of like she didn't really have to leave, but she just like didn't know what else to do with herself. Like I don't think they.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's the idea you get from the narration for sure.
She's just in stasis. She's just waiting to be useful, and then of course, Amanda calls her back to the house, and she goes straight back.
She goes back in and immediately walks into a glass being thrown in her fucking face.
Yeah, that was wild.
Amanda can no longer hold her liquor.
Yeah, it's fucking, to say the least, dude. She walks in and they're getting rowdy.
Yeah, they're just having an argument. I guess her friend is saying, "Why don't you move back to London and be near people?" And she's basically like, Amanda's not having it. She's dressed for company. She's got a wig on, so that she looks like she used to, and she's just, the alcohol isn't mixing well with her medication, and she's getting real sick. She's quite drunk and sick.
Yeah, the cocktail that you're on when you're that deep into it,
Jesus, yeah.
And her friend is like, is there anything I can do? And Maud is like, no, you can go. We've got this. Yeah. Things are different now, so I'm just gonna take care of her. You can leave.
Yeah, I put when she's saying goodbye to her friend, you could tell she's like holding on to his hand.
That's so fucking sad.
It's so goddamn heartbreaking, dude.
Amanda knows, like, any time that, and she gets visited by a lot of friends throughout the film. Like, anytime she says goodbye to a friend, it's like it might be the last time. She doesn't know whether she's gonna see them again.
Fucking heartbreaking.
It's so fucking sad.
Totally, and it's just so weird. Like, you can tell Maud is like getting off on all of it in a sick way, where she's like, yes, fall, hit rock bottom, find the Lord.
Exactly. Yeah, and she's so thrilled when they're alone
she's
together.
Doing the Dennis system. there it is for this episode. But I just realized it. She's like, now I'm demonstrating my value by giving her shots and bringing her tea.
Yeah.
Now I'm nurturing dependence by pushing her friends away.
She literally says, we don't need anyone else.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just her and me. And like,
I'm a 5-star nurse.
Exactly. Oh my god.
You could definitely see it, like, in the times
shit,
that Maud and Amanda are alone together and the care is going well. Like, it is a very nice time. Like, those scenes are lit with sunlight, and they're all these, like, montages of them, like, you know, eating breakfast and doing their stretches, and she's bathing her, and she's, you know, she's, like, really enjoying her job as a nurse. But it is not true. We don't need anyone else. Like, Amanda needs to be seeing her friends.
Yeah.
This is a very important time.
This is the time when you're supposed to be doing that.
Maud is saying all the time to the people that come to visit, like, this is an important time for her. Mm-hmm. To, like, get rid of everybody and be alone. But, like, no, it's a very important time for her to say goodbye to everybody.
Fucking weird bitch. Like,
Yeah. And I think, too, from other people's perspective, like, and I'm sure they've had conversations with her. Mm-hmm. Like, if you've, you know, unfortunately, I lost my cousin to cancer a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
sorry to hear that, bro.
Thank you. And, you know, it just runs in my family. And it's very unfortunate, you know, but it's like people are aware of what's going on, and, you know, the patient is aware of what's going on, and, like, there's no level where you don't know that she's grasping onto your hand because you both understand what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's like, to everyone who's being told, like, oh, this is an important time and everything, it's just like, it's just so obvious. It's just like,
yeah, exactly. Like,
yes,
you don't need
for
to say
the opposite
that,
of what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
We need
Like,
time with this person that we know and love, and we've known her for decades.
Like I feel like Maud is trying to portray it like she can get better if you go away and we, like, focus on this, but it's like, she's dying.
It's cancer.
And we
It's not going anywhere.
We all know.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like we're giving up on her. It's just having, you know, a healthier mindset and not being in denial, you know, and just being like, this is very unfortunate, but these moments need to be cherished, as opposed to being like, oh, you know, we can beat this, which, like, I'm not going to tell anyone you shouldn't be optimistic, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but,
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
But, like, I don't know, like,
Stage 4
to
is a
someone's
fucker,
loved
man.
ones, to someone's loved ones who know what it is, for the nurse to come up and be like, you need to stop poking around here.
Yeah.
It's just like, you want to get pushed out the window.
Yeah, exactly. And there, you know, there's people who do that, who abuse their
yeah.
fucking power and like that, because it's such a volatile time for people. It's such a vulnerable time. It's so
elder
scary.
abuse is, or just in general, patient abuse.
Patient abuse, it's fucking heartbreaking, dude, that this actually occurs, you know?
Yeah.
So I put, as she's cleaning off the puke off the rug, Amanda asks if she saw her friend's hair plugs. She was like, did you see his plugs?
Yeah, she's just sort of talking about, like, oh, I've known him for a long time. And
Yeah.
he was always trying to fuck me. She's like, have you seen him, though? And Maud's like, I don't really care about that kind of shit.
Yeah, and then she says no, and then Amanda says, no one sees what they don't want to. And they kind of just let that linger, and I was like, oh, that's a good line.
They do get along quite well for a time. And this is where they have these conversations. This is where they talk about, Amanda asks Maud about her medical experience, but like how she ended up, you know, she used to work at the hospital. And Amanda's like, have you seen a lot of death? And Maud's like, oh, yes. And she doesn't elaborate on that.
That's it. And she asks her, and again, this is when you find out that only within the last year she found her faith. That's it. Like, and so you see, and that makes a weird turn, because you're like, excuse me?
Yeah. And Amanda's very nice about it. Like, she's obviously an atheist, but she cares about where Maud's coming from, and she asks her, she's like, fuck it, you know, like, I don't really believe in any of this, but tell me there's something after death, because I need to hear that.
Yeah, exactly.
And Maud is like, absolutely there is. Like, I know there's a God. I've experienced him. And then Amanda says something that she really should never have said, but she had no idea that it would be such an issue. Yep. She's like, you're my little savior. Yep. And Maud is like, fuck yeah, I am.
Yep, exactly.
She gets
put me in, coach.
A glint in her eye, and she like, there are things that Maud realizes or hears that like seem to bring on the moments that she experiences like, God. Yeah. And like she just
quote unquote God, I will say.
And she's just like, oh my God, this is it. This is my calling. I get it. And then, you get your first taste of what it is that makes her so devout.
Yeah, because she kind of, when they're talking, she asks if she ever gets a response, and she says sometimes he talks, but most of the time it feels like a physical presence that's lingering around her or inside of her.
Yes.
And she says that she can feel when he's pleased. Mm-hmm. And when that, like she can, it's a physical thing with her. It's not very at all real. Exactly. It's not at all a metaphor. It's not hypothetical.
It's not just an exploration of thought.
Exactly. This is just a physically real thing. And
she is visited.
And then right after they have this conversation, she's walking up the staircase back to her room, and then we get the first instance of God's love on the staircase. So she experiences, I would say, the first possession. Mm-hmm. That's, again, I'm viewing this from the point of view as she's being visited by a demon that's disguising itself.
For sure. Well,
that's my read of this.
This is the thing that is such a large debate. Mm-hmm. And if we're I can't believe I'm about to take this side. But if we're going with paratext, which is what has been stated by the director, Maud is schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like it's just I feel like it's not even like open for interpretation, and I feel like there's like 2 or 3 sequences and shots, and especially the last shot, that like 100% cemented as there has been nothing supernatural going on here.
Yeah. She's undiagnosed because she's so isolated that no one has had the time to study her and be like, girl, you got some shit going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Both interpretations play, I will say, and I have many times debated in favor of a possession being a version of this that works.
I feel like they might both work in each other, like work with each other, though.
Yeah.
Like her delusions.
Yeah.
Are no less real
right.
to anyone else because they're real to her.
You could absolutely argue that someone who is schizophrenic is extremely vulnerable to being possessed by a demon and would be very confused. Yeah.
I think that would be a very interesting film where it is like explicitly both. Yeah. But when we go on, I'll let you know exactly what I think like really cements it on this side. But definitely throughout the film you are supposed to like doubt it, and I think that it is like a good conversation to have, you know, in terms of going back and forth and like, can it be both? But I feel like one side of it is definitely happening.
Yeah. Like, for sure the last shot cements it as this is, there's no room for discussion here, that's what happened. But the events leading up to it is what I'm saying is like, that's where it becomes like blurry for me. I feel like the lines of reality are like very
there's room.
There's the fantastical room in there.
It's definitely a ride, and you're supposed to question it, and it's very purposeful in like the timings and the locations of her fits and her visions and her hallucinations and everything. But
I have read some statements from like people who are epileptic being like, it is very much like this. So like from that standpoint, from the director's standpoint, like the things that she's experiencing are real medical issues, and she has a lot of, like, she's got a lot of stacked psychological and physical things that should be treated, that she's just, you know, no one's there to help her because no one knows what's going on with her. But, like, the visual splendor of it being filmed from the point of what she's experiencing, it is so well shot.
I'm doing the Italian hands right now. And this is
chef's kiss. It's immersive. Like, the soundscape that, like, when you can feel like it's starting to come on, and, like, there's all this soundscape underneath, like this whispering,
beautifully done,
like, sort of sparkling sound, and there's like a foghorn far off, and you're like, it just, you know, you can tell that it feels really good, whatever, and like it's in slow motion, and she's trying to go up the stairs, but she can barely make it because it's such a warm thing washing over her.
So, like, from that point of view, I could call it possession, but it also would be a first, like, seizure that we're seeing
and
happening.
The light in the hallway is dipping.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. And then you just see that slow thing. I think it was in this one where you see the like a thing coming from her neck from underneath her skin, and it goes up, like, to her skull.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, it's like very subtle. It's very slow, but you hear, like, crunching. When you hear the crunching, like, and she starts, like, like, when you hear that, you see a little, like, thing wave underneath her skull.
Yeah, it's like at that point when she gets overwhelmed, you're like, this is either orgasmic or it hurts. I'm not sure, or both.
Low column A, low column B, bro.
Yeah. And then, of course, like, she had this discussion about, Amanda's like, you're my savior, and she's like, yeah. And then she gets visited by God, who's like, I have something for you to do. And then immediately she's like, yep, I got my assignment. I know exactly why I'm here.
Yep.
I am... Thank you, God, for giving me something that's a worthy task. Like, cleaning up vomit, anyone can do, but saving a soul.
Now that's a job.
Yeah. And she's, like, praying to him, and she's kneeling on popcorn kernels.
Were they popcorn kernels?
I think it's popcorn.
I just thought they were rocks, bro.
Because she ripped open a container, and I was wondering what that was.
Okay, so they
just
were
a little bit
kernels.
of pain to help with the praying.
God damn it, to make the medicine go down? What the fuck? And then I put real quick that she was writhing around on the floor like one of the dancers in the video from earlier.
Yeah. I meant to say that when we do see her videos, that all the body contortion and everything, and even the posters, which we see match up with, like, her famous dance poses, are like her leaning backwards with her head upside down and her hair hanging down, and like just all these like Renaissance and like Enlightenment kind of era sculpture and painting poses sort of things, which are like, you know, eras of time where people were like beginning to reject certain religious doctrines, if not religious thought altogether, and be like, well, you know, we're humans and we're on Earth and we need to have humanly pursuits, and like art is worthwhile in and of itself.
We should invest in ourselves for a change.
That's one of the books that she's going through, right?
The book that she's given...
I think I was going to say, that's like, I think the one that...
The book that she's given is by is a bunch of paintings by William Blake, who is a romantic painter. Yeah. And he does a lot of imagery of like angels and demons and stuff. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I did a little bit of research to try and figure out some things about him. And apparently he has some themes to do with like just a lot of angels type of things, and like heavenly bodies and celestial beings and things like that. And I think I narrowed down to the painting that she really fixates on, and it's a painting called The Good and Evil Angels. And I think you know which angel she gravitates to in that painting.
It's the one where they're the two angels facing each other and praying. It's very symmetrical.
Or is the one the singular angel in the middle?
It's two angels, and it's like they're in different poses, and one is blue and one is red, and the red one is surrounded by flames. And like I think shackled. It looks like he has like a shackle on his lower leg, like holding him down. Yeah. But yeah, and even that, you know, like she is identifying with the one who is in pain. In her mind, the evil angel is the one who is like free of pain and not shackled down, and I think holding a baby. Yeah, holding a baby.
So it's like that.
To her, like, that's what's evil, is like being free of the shackles of religion and divinity and all of these things, and pursuing your own joy. And this evil angel in this like very dancer-esque pose, like his body is leaning forward and his arms out to either side. You know, it's like, oh, he's suffering. He understands that that's what God wants.
Yeah.
That's the good angel.
Yeah, it probably wasn't a good idea to give her that book.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because an interesting thing that comes up later, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but my note in here was that when she's talking, when she's narrating, she's reading out loud, and there's themes about disavowing organized religion.
And she's like,
Yeah, exactly. She makes it like, huh. Isn't that something?
Well, what do you know?
but it makes sense too, because in her perspective, like, her sensibilities in terms of religion are so warped that it's like she's not following a doctrine of like a modern day church. She's of the mind that like your relationship with God is supposed to be literally you and God talking back and forth. She says that God like speaks to her. You know, that she's literally heard his voice,
which she definitely has.
Yeah. And it's wild. And then I think we talked about the scene, but we didn't mention that when she feels God there with Amanda, and Amanda is like smirking and like trying not to laugh at her while she's like saying grace over their soup. And then she's like, oh, I felt God too. And it's just like, oh, you really shouldn't have played into that.
Yeah, she had no... I mean, she's a dancer. Like, she's reactive and reflexive, and she's a very physical person. It has been all her life. So to her, it's a very easy thing to... When she sees Maud essentially having a fucking seizure, or like what is to her a possession, she's like, oh, wow. Like, she's never seen Maud do something like this. And she's like, yeah, I can imitate that. I'll play along.
She's yes-anding her.
She's just excited to see Maud opening up in any way. And she's like, yeah, I can do that too. And she's like, you know, she's at the end of her life. She's dying. She's like, I'll do whatever.
Fuck it. I'll play. Shit.
Yeah. And she's just grasping for anything that is an experience.
Yeah.
So she's just trying to connect to Maud. And
was this
possibly even on an intimate sexual level.
Yeah, exactly. Because I would say there's definitely undertones of that present. Yeah,
you learn a bit into it that Amanda is probably bisexual, or pansexual. You know, she's an artistic soul, and she's down for whatever. Yeah, and she's like, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll bang my nurse.
Exactly.
I don't care.
Why not?
Yeah, which is why she kind of, like, at certain times it seems like she's hitting on Maud, but she's also sort of motherly towards her. And Maud is not having any of it. I wanted to mention, like, once she's decided that she's going to save Amanda's soul, she pours out all the booze.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Which is a shit move.
Oh, yeah.
Because Amanda needs that. And also, in the same scene as she pours out all this booze and she's talking about how she's going to do this holy task, she also puts on some of Amanda's perfume, which is very odd.
Yeah.
So she's, like, simultaneously doing this super pious task, but she's also still being a nosy bitch and, like, doing these things that aren't very holy.
She definitely leans into the stalker thing. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
To a horrible one, but yeah.
She's, like, coveting, you know?
Yep. I put right here, she's, right after she had the revelation to save Amanda's soul, she's doing the dishes. And
I love this scene so much.
She gets another visitation.
Yeah, right away.
This was the one that I meant to. This was the one that I was referencing before. This is when you see the presence.
Yeah, the first visitation is like pretty ecstatic and orgasmic and nice, but this one has like a
tinge of pain
sinister
to it.
edge to it.
And I said there's like something underneath her skin, and it's moving up her neck and into her skull.
Her jaw almost
like,
comes undone.
Opens like
not in a goofy, scary movie way. Like it's clearly just how she's opened her mouth, but yeah, you get such good acting.
It's unnerving.
Yeah, it seems like she's been grabbed.
It's again, this is when we lean into the body horror aspect. Now
it starts to get a little scary. Yeah, so she's about to like be fucking possessed in the kitchen.
Straight up.
But then the doorbell rings and she's like, oh, and then she's fine.
Hey, what's up?
Which like definitely pushes the idea that like this is all happening very much internally. She's like, never mind, I'll do that later.
We're interrupted by Carol. An old flame of Amanda's. She's kind of like you said, it's not like they're shitty people.
Yeah,
they're really not. Carol is like kind of just.
She's a modern woman.
She's a modern woman.
She's a modern booty call.
Exactly, and it's like she just came to have fun. She just showed up to see her friend and this and that, and then Maud is extremely upset. Yeah, she's like, she's asleep. It is way too late. What are you doing here? And she's
but obviously Amanda has called her to come
exactly.
over.
She's like, she's expecting me. What the fuck? Look.
Yeah, and this is like, she's been given her assignment. She's being visited by God, and she's like, this is going really well, and this is such a setback to her. We cut to her in her room, and it is greener than ever. Like that scene is like acid green, and she's washing her hands so hard.
Yeah,
because she's like, "Fuck."
It's so nasty too. It just gets like again,
and then her nose is bleeding. Like we were talking about,
like with Titan, like with like increasingly more uncomfortable. Like this one just gets more and more revved up
because you don't know where it's going.
No, you absolutely have no idea.
Either God is real and he is not pleased with her, or I'm
or
not
he's
sure what.
Fuck.
Yeah, but this color palette is making me real uncomfortable.
Yep.
Yeah, and she's just alone in a room, and she can hear them laughing and having a good time, and like her nose is bleeding, and she's just like,
And she walks up. She walks in on them. And not walks in, but like
I think
walks
she spies
up
on
to
them
the door
later. I think another time.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And then this is after the next morning when Amanda and her share the hallucination I put, where she was being visited essentially when they're praying over the soup.
Yeah.
This is that scene.
Yeah, and at the time that you see it, you think Amanda's definitely watching Maud for cues on what to do, but like you can watch that scene and understand the possibility that Amanda is also being visited by God.
I think
that's what Maud believes.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think it's pretty obvious because she like has that little like side eye like lift peak, like eyelid lift.
She's like, "What are we doing now?" Yeah?
Exactly. Like so So that's why I put like she's yes-anding her. Like she's really is just like.
But it doesn't seem so unkind. She's just trying to connect.
Yeah.
And Maud is like, it's very important to her because she noticed when Carol was leaving that Carol was counting money. So she was paid to visit Amanda.
That's right.
So it's very important to Maud that she connect with Amanda and help her. She's like, I gotta save her from all these shitty people.
I clocked during the movie that Maud like only ever eats from a bowl, which I thought was like kind of strange, but I'm just like thinking now in terms of like at the beginning she has this like a totally bland unseasoned soup with nothing in it.
It's just on soup alone.
It's just tomatoes, but it is sort of like in the Divine Comedy when they're talking about like gluttony, they're literally just like, and these guys ate food that tasted good.
Exactly.
That's like a very Old Testament thing of just like, oh, and you expect food to be pleasurable?
Yeah.
Okay.
French fries, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
You eat it and you survive to the next day, and that's all. That's all God wants of you. Like literally it's considered a sin to enjoy food.
the food. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so it's like she's just like whatever she's eating, like, it doesn't really matter because it's bland and flavorless and, like, literally just calories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. To consider that a sin is just wild.
Yeah, to just have this viewpoint of, like, you are not allowed to have any pleasure on the planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are not allowed to enjoy anything here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is, again, like, you're supposed to be suffering in service of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
That's her whole.
Yeah.
That's her whole spiel, bro.
And this is around the time when Amanda gives her the book, and
book.
she becomes very occupied with it. She's like really reading into it, and it has like it's been inscribed. Amanda has written "To my little savior" in the front of it, which is a very sweet gesture. She's like, I know you like religious things. Here's this for you.
It's like so messed up that this woman is dying and she thinks like this poor girl who has her life ahead of her.
Yeah.
Like I have to do what I can to help her feel like maybe if she thinks that she made my last days so fulfilling and like saved my soul, like what harm is it to an atheist to like let a religious person think that they converted you if your goal is just to make them feel better?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's such a nice thing that she like gives a shit either way, like what kind of an experience Maud is having. She's really trying to level with her.
It's just like a very sad role reversal of like you're supposed to be there to help her existential crises, and instead, you know, Amanda is telling her like, you're a young woman, go have fun. Like you're pretty. You could like you know have a guy in your life if you want, or a woman, like whatever. You can have somebody. It doesn't have to just be taking care of me and other people. Like you're so nice and so great, but like in terms of what you do for your job, like it's a valuable service, but like go live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Maud is like in her bedroom laying around, and you can like see her stomach's all scratched up.
God, yeah.
She's like constantly doing these things to, you know, punish herself.
Self-flagellation.
Yeah, flagellation. There you go.
Yeah. And this is around the time when she decides to have a little talk with Carol.
Oh, but this is before that she goes full creep mode. That's when she sees them.
Yeah, she like watches them.
God, she's just lingering for a beat too long, bro.
Yeah, and that's such a sad scene too. Like they're in that room and they're sort of just like making out and canoodling and stuff, and Maud is watching, and she focuses on Amanda's face, and Amanda, she's wearing her wig and she's got her dressing gown on, and she's just like, she's there to have fun with Carol, but she sort of like gets lost in thought, and that's what Maud sees is like, oh, she's not even enjoying that. Like she doesn't want to be doing this. She's lost. Yeah.
She needs me.
Yeah.
Yep. And Maud stops Carol on her way out the next morning. She's waiting by the staircase. So weird.
Yeah, she says, I should mention in a round window that gives her a halo.
Oh yeah. Yep.
She's like, I'm ready to do my holy duty.
Soldiering for the Lord.
Yeah.
She's just like the least intimidating bouncer.
I don't know. She's pretty squirrely.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's so funny. So she runs up to Carol and tells her basically, you're going to need to go away and stay away.
Yeah.
This is an important time for her.
It's an important time for her. She's very vulnerable right now. Mm-hmm. And Carol pretty much tells her, like, what are you talking about? Like, initially she's like, what do you, like...
Excuse me?
Yeah, excuse me? And then she's like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'm going to leave her alone. Okay. Whatever you say.
She's like, I know that you're taking money, and she's like, that's none of your fucking business.
None of your fucking business.
Like, this is an arrangement between two people, which absolutely is. Like, you're just the nurse. Yeah. And then Carol's like, oh, I get it. It's because you're just freaking out because, we're doing a gay thing.
Yeah.
And Maud is like, I beg your pardon, I wouldn't give a shit if you had a 10-inch cock. And, like, it's so funny because, like, a moment before, she's like, I'm trying to be nice. I haven't sweared at you.
Swear to you.
And Carol's like, I don't fucking care if you swear at me. What?
Yeah.
And then she says this thing. She's like, I wouldn't care if you had a 10-inch cock. And Carol's like, okay. And then she's like, all right. And she, like, walks towards Maud, and Maud's like, where are you going?
Where are you going?
And Carol's like, I'm leaving.
What the fuck?
And Maud's like, oh, so you'll do it.
Yeah.
You'll stay away. And Carol's like, yeah, whatever. And Maud's like, I fucking did it.
Yeah. She's like, hell yeah. All right.
And then again, she's such a coward that, like, I don't know, it's like this off and on sort of thing where it's like she's doing it for what she thinks is like such an altruistic reason, but, like, you know, harking back to, like, the homeless guy, it's like she wasn't ready for that for whatever reason, but because this is, like, centered around what her mission is, like, she doesn't have the energy to, like, debate some dude on the street because she's like, oh no, what if this guy's gonna be like, there's no God, I'm homeless, like, you're so messed up, and she's like, it's hard to, like, convince people that this is what their pain is for, but Amanda's dying and she's so much more vulnerable and it'd be so much easier, you know. But
exactly.
So just get it in her face, and like Evelyn said, the whole where you going? I'm leaving. You're standing in front of the door. Oh, so funny.
It's so good. Yeah, her little mannerisms. She's an excellent performer, by the way.
So
like,
good.
she plays the shit out of this role. I love it.
Yeah.
So I put someone runs up on Maud in the street. She's just walking out and about, I guess, on a day off, and she addresses her as Katie. She says, Katie, and Maud's kind of like turning around like, fuck.
Yeah, we're like, oh, excuse me?
And she seems upset, but she stops to chat with Joy, as we come to find out. They're kind of catching up. It's kind of awkward. It's like one of those, like, you haven't seen each other in a long time.
Yeah.
They were acquaintances at best, I believe, because I don't think they were friends.
Yeah, probably like classmates, because they're quite young. They're in their early 20s. So
you get the sense that Maud was, like, sort of notorious for what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't know.
There's a lot of mention of the time at the hospital and, like, I haven't seen you because of, like, where did you go after what happened?
No, like, work just kind of comes up and she's like, I'm doing caretaking right now, and she's like, oh, do they know what happened? And she's like, yeah.
Of course they do.
Yeah, of course. And you're just
do I need to call a board of directors?
Exactly.
Yeah, Joy is like, what are you working, who are you working with?
Private.
A private agency.
Yeah, private agency.
Which, and, like, considering her real name is Katie, you're like, did she... Do they know?
Do they know?
Forge, a whole new identity in order to do this work? It really raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, a lot of red flags.
And she, of course, is not talking about any of this in her narration to God. Like, that's not it's a non-topic.
He don't even know all that.
Yeah, he's like, I know you.
She doesn't need to explore her trauma if she's busy, like, saving souls. Like, which is, again, this, like, sort of one of the things that I don't like about religion is, like, just this sort of, like, why, contend with these things and go to therapy and find root causes and, like, try to get better when life is for suffering, and if you suffer a bunch, then you get to go to heaven. So it's just this, like, I don't know. It just
I don't
disgusts
sit right
me.
with me either, dog. Yeah.
And a true medical professional, Joy, though she was never friends with Katie / Maud. She's like, she can tell that something isn't quite right, and she's like, well, here's my number. If you want to get a drink or talk or anything, she's like, call me anytime.
Yep.
She's just trying to, lend an ear.
Olive branch, man.
Yeah.
Just here's someone if you need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And then we kind of catch up with Amanda, and they just kind of, it's a quiet routine all the time. Like, you never know if they're really doing well or upset at each other, but, like,
Yeah.
I think here it's kind of really cut and clear that there's tension in the room because she's like she gets that call.
Yeah.
While they're like, what I forgot what they're doing.
I don't know what they were doing, but they were like just having
generally
lunch.
I think they're having lunch. Yeah, I think they're having.
I think they were having a good time.
Yeah.
And then Amanda gets a phone call.
And then just
her whole mood changes.
Deeply upset.
She's like, I want to go to bed.
And and she's like, it's
5 p.m.
o'clock.
She's like, I'll go to bed when I damn well please.
Which absolutely right.
Which is just like, we know that Carol didn't tell her on the phone like what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's still just like sort of underlies that whole thing of like, you're my fucking nurse. You don't make decisions for me.
Yeah.
This is my life.
Yeah.
Do what I told you to. I pay a service for you. You're my employee.
That's why I think it makes the scene, later on at the party just that much more impactful because it's like, is she being a dick or is she like, no, she's well within her fucking rights to react like that.
Reasonable person.
Yeah, exactly. So
and very like nicer than she needs to be by far. Yeah, and like it takes you back to like the previous nurse was like, she's a bit of a cunt, but like, is she though?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She probably just didn't like the previous. Like her biggest fault is that she likes Maud.
Exactly.
And she shouldn't.
Yep. 1,000% for sure.
Yeah.
And then she basically, I guess that upsets Maud.
Yeah.
And she decides, you know what? All right, I need to keep punishing myself. Then, if the universe is gonna be right, we gotta get a little punishment in there. So she puts her hand down on the stovetop, just brings it down, just
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Brutal.
It's upsetting, man. It's upsetting for sure. And then just right next scene is just her hand wrapped up.
Yeah.
And she's noticing that Amanda's back on her phone and like giggling to herself again, and it's like, okay.
She's reaching out to the outside world.
Exactly.
She's texting with friends, and she's like, she seems to be in a better mood, and she asks Maud to go get some things.
She's just like, all right, I need you to run out.
Yeah.
And so, Maud goes on a grocery run for the birthday party, as it turns out, that night.
It's Amanda's birthday. A very important birthday.
Very.
One would say.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Your last
Your fucking
birthday.
last one, yeah.
You want to get dolled up. You want all your friends there. You want it to be a very special night, and you don't want to think about your fucking nutso palliative nurse. This night is not in any way about Maud.
Yeah, absolutely not. So they're kind of going about the night, and she notices Carol's back. She notices that, like, Carol kind of showed up, and then she's like, you see Maud's demeanor get really, like...
Yeah. She's like,
upset.
It didn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
I was wrong.
She's like, damn it. Foiled again. But while she's kind of going around the party, Amanda publicly reveals that she heard about what Maud had done.
Yeah.
And Maud gets embarrassed. And
the way she does it is
so
good.
It's so good. Yeah. So, remind me about the details, because I forget, because I was focusing on the broad strokes when I was doing this one, but yeah.
So it's funny because throughout the film, Amanda and I are constantly talking about just like, you're supposed to be her nurse, but you're like making her every meal, you're bathing her, you're doing everything. You're like her butler, her chef, like you're doing cleaning, you're just doing like everything.
Housekeeper,
and then in this,
and
then in this scene, immediately, and like we come to know why when Amanda like brings it up. But, like, she's immediately just dropped into, like, an even further subservient, position. She's just like, it's my birthday. Go make hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, she's just, like, looking for this. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like, I'm your nurse. I'm gonna, like...
You should hire someone for this.
Yeah, like, I'll be in the other room, and if you start feeling sick, like, I'll come take care of you. You know what I mean? Like, that should be the thing is, like, don't... over drink, don't over party, like obviously, but like
it's like a little punishment on Amanda's part, a little bit of cruelty. Be like, since you overstepped your bounds, I'm gonna turn you into a butler for the night.
But it's also like in this sick way. It's like, since you want to be this little suffering servant, like, I'll just make you into that. Like, you want to be that so bad, then like go ahead and be it. And they do the cake, and so early on in the film, when she's walking around like listlessly, either before Joy shows up or when the male friend is over and she's just like killing time, she's like flicking a lighter in her pocket. And then in this scene, she's trying to use matches, which I interpreted as like that holding on to tradition and old ways. And like, I'm not going to do the thing that makes the job easier, because jobs aren't meant to be easier.
Yep.
You know, and then and she can't light it, and then this other person comes in and like lights them all with a lighter real quick, and she's just like,
what the fuck are you doing? Quick.
Obviously so obsolete.
Yeah.
And then that person carries the cake in, they all sing happy birthday, and then Maud comes in with plates and like plasticware and sets it down, and then she just starts talking within earshot of her. She's like, can you believe the nurse thought that it was within her rights to like try and break us up?
Yep.
I don't know if she's just a bigot or if she's jealous or what it could possibly be. And Maud's just like hell of embarrassed and turns to leave, and she's like, don't leave, I'm talking to you.
I'm talking to you,
Yeah.
bitch.
What is it? Say it now in front of all my friends at my last birthday party.
Yeah. She says, am I indecent? And Maud's like, no, you're lost.
And they laugh at her, which I loved. That's to me, that's what you deserve for that, if that's how you're going to talk to people.
Yeah.
I mean,
1000%.
Yeah. It's still very reasonable. It's a little cruel, but it's like Amanda was hoping at this point to give Maud a wake-up call. Like, we're not alone together. There's no gaslighting to be had.
Yeah.
Like, let's just talk about this in front of a jury of our peers.
Yep.
And now you'll see it's unreasonable. And Maud tries to leave the room. And this is a weird moment because, like, you can't, like, at least I can't tell if she can't leave because there are people keeping her in the room, or if it's like she hits an invisible wall.
Yeah.
Like,
I noticed that too.
God is keeping her from leaving the room.
Strange. Yeah, like the sound even goes weird for a second. Like,
but she's also being pulled back by people.
And then they like christen her Saint Maud and like
Saint Maud
put wrappings around her head, which I just can't see being real. Like, it just seems like another,
it's just what it feels like to
like
her,
delusion of like she's being persecuted and martyred for her beliefs because she's trying to save another's life, which is like, that's part of the canonization of a saint, is that you have to be martyred and persecuted for your beliefs. So in her mind, that's what's happening, and like she's literally becoming canonized because of the way that they're treating her.
Yeah, I feel like also like weird little parallel to draw, but I feel like this is similar to Joker in a lot of ways, because it feels like it's showing you the fantasy.
Even in terms of the dance-like body contortion.
Exactly.
And the marriage of like the physical and the mental, of like when you are in the grips of mental illness, your physical health can also be on the decline, that these things are like intrinsically linked. And I think that's like a pretty big through line in both of those. That is like, as they suffer and go through these things, they do these contortions and
It's like physically changing and transforming into a new version of yourself, essentially. So here we have so when she what was the statement that makes her snap?
Well,
I forgot what was the...
Whether it's real or not, they like pull her back over to Amanda, and Amanda's like, she's essentially like, I'm sorry, like, I don't mean to, embarrass you this way. I just want you to loosen up. You're a beautiful young woman. You have so much to look forward to, and, you could be living life. And Maud's essentially like, I'm not interested in any of that. And Amanda's like, well, I'm really not going to get through to her. And she's like, oh, of course, nothing can compare. to the warm pulsing love of God.
And then she just fucking slaps her.
I think she was gonna say God's cock.
No, she was. Yeah. She was absolutely.
Yeah, and she smacks the shit out of her and loses that job real quick.
Yeah, that's how you get fired real quick.
Instantly fired.
I put Mada's back to being unemployed, and for a moment begins doubting her faith.
Mm-hmm.
They asked her too while they're kind of doing an exit interview. I guess
the debriefing.
Debriefing
of a agency person that you can't see.
Yeah. So she's just kind of like, is everything okay? Because Amanda expressed other concerns as well. So
yeah, which I mean, the way the agent speaks of Amanda, it just highlights how kind of person she really is. She's not pressing charges.
Exactly.
Of the nurse who slapped her so hard that blood came out of her nose.
Jesus.
On her birthday. And Amanda cared enough to inquire, is Maud okay?
Yeah.
And Maud's like, I'm fine. Because now she's deep in the suffering. She's gonna
this is full on spiral, and I love that it's literally also shown as spirals. Yeah, that she's seeing and everything.
When she goes back to her shitty little apartment and she takes her crucifix and it's wrapped up in a cloth. She takes it out of her suitcase and she puts it on the dresser. She does not hang it up. She just leaves it there, and then you see that bug crawling on the wall again, and she just fucking lays into God on this super acidic personal prayer. She's like, I don't know what the fuck I expected, but it wasn't this. What the hell?
As per my last email,
I did everything right.
Dear dickhead creator.
Yeah. She's like, if this is some kind of lesson, then I don't understand it.
Exactly.
And this is where we start getting those upside down shots of literally her world is just thrown into turmoil.
Yep.
And it's just she just
God, those shots are beautiful.
Yeah.
She just can't fathom that her piety has not been rewarded.
Yeah, she gets very ballsy in the way she addresses him. She's like, perhaps you aren't as wise as I thought you were. If this is how you treat your most loyal subjects, I shudder to think what awaits those who shun you.
That's a great line.
And you're like,
dude.
Damn girl, if God is real, you better be careful.
He's saying some fighting words right now. No, I gotta know.
And she's just
Santa's hearing all of this.
He knows. Yeah. And when she's wandering around town, she's unemployed. She's got nothing to do. She actually sees Amanda out at the beach with her new nurse.
Does she?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she's fixating on her.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
That's where she first sees the other nurse.
Shit, I was deep in these notes, man.
Yeah. Well, we know you had a time of it because you had to watch it on your phone and take notes.
Full disclosure. My TV just took a shit on me the last 2 days.
That was God punishing you.
Yeah, we got to get that fixed.
So all of the movies that I'm watching right now are off of my phone, and it's kind of whack.
As Nolan intended.
Exactly. The good Lord.
Tom Cruise, please watch all my films on your phone.
Exactly. It was hard watching this one on a phone too because I was I wanted so badly to watch that fucking scene.
Yeah. In
particular, on a bigger screen. I was like, oh, motherfucker. Yeah,
Next
whatever.
time.
Hey, we suffer for the art. That's the point.
We suffer for the art. So right here, she, again, she just... She's off the rails.
Yeah.
She's just out there drinking, jerking guys off.
Yeah. She goes all the way.
It's mad uncomfortable, man. It is so
honestly
one
of worst nights of your life.
Yeah.
Type of night she has.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting worse. Yeah.
The saddest part for sure is after she comes back, the first guy that she makes eyes with, she goes and gives him a hand job, and then he's like, oh, I'm busted, and she's just like, please no, wait. And then he does, and she's just like, you're a loser, and
she
leaves.
She just walks off,
she goes
wipes her hand on a towel and throws it off and just walks out.
She goes right back to her table.
And then he walks by and goes, see you later, and then gets his friend, is like, we gotta go, I just busted. And And then she looks over to the table next to her, and there's just like all these people like seemingly around her age, and they're all like joking and laughing. And it's just so pathetic. She like starts like laughing and trying to be like, maybe they'll be like, oh, she's in on the joke, but like no one even looks at her. No one like, you would expect
like,
them to
weird.
be like, you'd expect them to be like, go away, but they don't even pay attention to her. And she just
so fucked up.
She just like trails off.
She just goes straight into shots from there. Yeah,
continues to spiral and then bumps into the boar
calls,
hunter of the film.
She calls Joy first.
Yeah. I was gonna say she calls Joy first and was like, hey, let's hang out. I'm at a bar with friends, but they're about to leave right now. I think I'm gonna hang out a little bit.
Yeah, she's super drunk. She's trying to like reach out, and Joy is not available, and Maud says something to the effect of like, it seemed like you never really liked me, and then I'm not sure what the response was, but she's like, I think she said, I played it so many times, trying to understand what she was saying. I think she said, don't be like that, like,
yeah.
She had this super vulnerable moment. Like, Joy is a really nice person, but like, she was probably like, I don't know where you got that idea. Maybe, we're not really friends, so what do you expect? Like, she probably called Joy, like, Joy is probably asleep or something.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going out right now.
Because she even said it later on. She says, I was just so tired or something like that I would have been no use to anybody.
She works in a fucking hospital. She's probably, like, catching up.
Exactly.
But, like, in the middle of this horrible night, she reaches for that lifeline, and Joy isn't available, and that's just, like, it seals her fate. She's like, well, I'm going down the fucking...
She's just like, I'm stupid, bye.
Yeah. And then she's back at the bar kind of looking at her drink, and then she sees the drink start swirling, and a whirlpool happens in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And she just, like, gets freaked out, backs up, and, like, slams into a table and, like, drops everyone else's drinks and stuff. And then all of the drinks
on the table have a whirlpool in them.
Start doing the whirlpool thing again.
It's so spooky.
Oh man, talk about what's the Junji Ito?
Uzumaki.
Let's talk about the Uzumaki shit,
Yeah, there are
bro.
a lot of shots also of drains, like things going down drains in this film. Yeah, and it's very unsettling. You're like, she's denounced God, and she's like deep in a night of sin.
Yeah, literally
and then she
spiraling
sees
out.
this, and she's like, oh fuck, he's coming for me. Yeah, and then she spins around and she bumps into
the fucking
the dude,
the scumbag of the century.
Yeah.
They're pretty much, you see pretty much she's gonna make this bad decision. You see the decision has been made before the next scene even happens.
Then we just cut to her just fucking fucking
yeah. She is
she's riding
him
with shirt on.
And every time he tries to like touch her, she just slams his hands down.
She's like, don't move.
She's just trying to get this thing done. Like, she's trying to reach rock bottom as quickly as possible to I guess prove something to God. I'm not sure exactly what the goal is.
But the flashes that happen in between this scene are so fucking interesting. It's so interesting because it gives you like,
she wasn't able to outrun the flashbacks. We're finally seeing
exactly
what happened.
Is that what happened though? Like,
yes,
is that okay?
100%.
Okay.
So we see as she's like pushing her hands away from him, she puts her hands on his chest in like a CPR position, and then we start to see flashes of like an old woman who she was caring for in like their nursing program.
Okay.
And she's giving her CPR, and she has the oxygen, like the squeezy thing over her face, and she's giving her the oxygen. And something that I like somewhat recently read is like, CPR is a life-saving thing, and people often underestimate that like to pump the water out of someone who's drained lungs, like the amount of pressure that you have to put on and how many times you do it, because you're not just like kind of pumping, you're putting your whole body weight into it to create that suction. So people often get broken ribs and or a punctured lung or something, but it's like the alternative is you die.
Right.
So
it might hurt you, but it's a necessary step.
So while she
Interesting.
was giving this brittle old woman with porous bones that you have to weigh down with twice her body weight, when you dispose of the body. But when she's doing that, her sternum just completely collapses. Her ribs compound fracture through her body, and she's just sprayed with blood. And this woman dies. And then because Maud was so traumatized, I think what probably happened is like, you're not going to save this woman's life. Like, it's done at that point. You know what I mean? Yeah. But she, like, fell on the ground and cowered and cried while this woman, like, suffered and died. And for Maud to accept that what she did is not horrible, she has to be like, that suffering amounted to, like, now she's in heaven. Because I did that, this woman is in heaven. The pain. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just this, like, that's what her divine, interpretation of those events are. Is
and
like,
that's the first time she saw the bug.
Yeah.
In that moment,
it was.
It probably was a real bug in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
But then it became this entity.
The motif.
Exactly.
I love it, dude.
Yeah, she just diverged from reality at that point.
So she sees that, and she sees his sternum collapse.
Chest. Yeah.
And then she realizes, she like pushes herself off and realizes how, that reality and these things are merging, and she's like, trying to figure out what's going on. And then here comes the other trigger warning.
Yeah. And I mean, just pretty much gonna say pretty much she was like, okay, I'm done. And the guy is like, no, I'm not done yet. And she's like, no. And he proceeds to finish.
Yeah. He just like flips her on her side and holds her down.
It's pretty fucking unsettling to watch. Like, I was like, this is, I forgot about the scene in particular because I guess all the other like crazy ass imagery, but I was like, fuck, man, this is one of the hardest ones to really like stomach.
And it's a very important kind of rape scene because I think a lot of men have probably done that version of that and not thought of it as rape because it's such a underwhelming. She says no once and then she sort of submits to it. And I think a lot of people would not consider that to be rape, but it absolutely is because she did not consent. She was done and he finished.
Consent is like ongoing, and like at any moment you can just be like, no, this isn't right, I don't want to do this.
The moment it changes, that's a change. It's a finished matter.
And funny enough, yesterday I saw some people on Twitter having discourse over like blue balls. Not a thing. It's not a thing.
What the fuck? Oh my god.
It's not a thing. Don't ever believe someone who says it's a thing. Like, I was a boy in high school. I've made out with girls for an hour plus with nothing else going on, and then I rode my skateboard 5 or 6 miles home. I assure you, I was fine.
Did it weigh you down, make you slower at all?
Yeah, like I've had people tell me like I was on the bus in so much pain, and it's just like it's just not a thing. It's just
Also, even if it is, just deal with it.
Yeah,
take care of it.
Like, exactly, take care of you.
It's no one's responsibility but yours.
Yep, absolutely.
But like it's just like an ongoing thing, and it is like like an ongoing theme in these movies, just because it's a real thing in life, is just that like men don't realize how scary they are, and then being lumped in with other men who are scary will sometimes like push you in a weird direction. And that's not to say that like women are wrong to be scared, but it's just like we need to have these conversations as men and like learn these things and be told that like, yes, 1000%. If a woman isn't into you, that's the end of the story. You don't show up outside her window and throw pebbles. You just you just move on.
The Devil's Work podcast is firmly against fuckboy culture.
We're here again.
Incels.
Fuckboy corner.
As you're well aware of by this point if you've been listening since episode 1.
Every episode we shout out Always Sunny and we denounce incels and fuckboys.
Unfortunately, sexual assault and trauma is baked into horror in a big way. But it's a very important part of, it is horror.
Yeah, it is.
And it's to me, it's like, and I think Evelyn said this before, like, it's a real thing that happens. It's therefore like a valid event to put on a timeline in a story.
Yeah.
And like there's a difference between like, you know, I feel like the point of this is like at this point you hate Maud and you want bad things to happen to her. You know, you don't want that to happen to her.
No one fucking deserves
no
it.
one deserves it.
Absolutely
yeah,
not.
and it's just like I don't know, it's sort of like as much as she wants to suffer and as much as at this point as a viewer like you sort of want her to suffer, you're like not like that.
Yeah,
You know, like
I didn't
not,
mean
not
like that.
Yeah, it's like I don't
and
know.
Then salt in the wound, of course, before she leaves his place. He's like, I remember you.
Yeah.
You used to be out all the time. I think you fucked my buddy.
Yeah. And again, it cements her idea of like, I can't escape the past. Like I can't outrun who I was. And it just scares her. I guess that kind of scares her further into being more religious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like more, she just has to become more religious to wash that out somehow.
Yeah. And then, she has such a traumatic evening when she goes home. Like, she had denounced God and she experienced this, and now she's begging him to take her back. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I can't believe that my faith was so flimsy that I almost succumb. And it's like, you did succumb.
Yeah.
Like,
Because this is when
this is where God comes back full fucking force.
This is my
He's
favorite
like, I
scene.
am here.
This is my all-time favorite scene.
Yeah.
She is spiraling out at this point. She's looking up at the clouds outside of her window, and she sees the clouds are even in spirals and shit. And she's just completely losing her shit. And she starts vomiting.
Yeah.
And convulsing.
She's like shaking a little bit, and then she just projectile pukes because, like,
It's
goddamn, the amount of alcohol that she's consumed this evening.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen.
And then while she's on the floor and like kind of convulsing, you start seeing water pouring out of like the crevices in the walls.
And
Like it's
fireworks.
just kinda, like,
Fireworks start
fireworks
going
are going off. Yeah.
She left her sink on.
Yeah.
Oh, did she?
She did.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
But water does play heavily in the film because we kind of skipped over it earlier. But after Amanda is like, "Oh, I felt God too," there's a scene where Amanda is sleeping and Maud has blessed some water and is going around the house doing tiny crosses on like every panel of the walls.
Yeah.
So she's like totally like consecrating her house.
Yeah.
You know,
I forgot about that.
And
then
I have to feel that the fireworks are a possibility, but the intensity and the moment she vomits, the fireworks start exploding.
They kick off. Yeah.
It doesn't seem real. It could be, because that's a thing.
This is where the fantasy starts. Essentially, they can make sure again. She's
the
having
timing of it is just so odd.
She's having a seizure. That much is for sure. Like she's foaming at the mouth. Like, you know what I mean. Like it is. These are all signs of a seizure. But like you said, it feels a little too perfect that the fireworks started that time, like, and everything just kind of seems to be
everything just ramps up super hard.
Up, exactly.
Yeah.
She sees the cockroach again. I think it's a cockroach. I'm not sure if it's a
It
cockroach.
looks like a cockroach.
It's some kind of
bug.
roach.
Yeah, it's like a big bug or something like that.
Yeah.
She sees the cockroach again, and then he's just like, "Hey," and then it's just fucking. He's just around, and yeah, okay. So this is where it happens. She sees the bug, and then I think the sound cuts out first. What cuts out first? Something cuts out first. I think it was the sound cuts out first, and then you just see everything like starts lifting up. Her body starts lifting up off the ground.
Her feet.
Her feet go first, then you see her hands and her hair.
Yeah.
And then they pull back for a wide shot, and you just see her levitating in the middle of the room.
Yeah, like she's being held up by her stomach.
Her waist. Like
Yeah, she's being in God's arms.
It is fucking gorgeous. Oh my god, that like every time I see it, it gives me chills. Like every time I see that scene, it is fucking perfectly done.
Yeah. It's this all-encompassing. It's the most powerful moment that she's probably experienced, and it's like she's in another realm entirely.
It really feels like the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
in more ways than one.
More ways.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's the boost that she needed to like the next morning. She's back at it.
She had a revelation.
She's cleaning up her apartment. She's putting everything back together, and she thanks God for His mercy.
Oh man.
And then I think this is the part where she does like she starts putting pins through like pictures of like the Virgin Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's cut all these pictures out of the book that Amanda gave her.
She leans into the crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's like, okay, well, God wants me to save her soul, so I'm going to save her soul, and she like cuts everything out and puts it up, and then it focuses several times on the like evil angel in that picture, and she hangs up the image of him burning on her wall. And then, she, like, threw, like, pictures of the Virgin Mary, like, choosing, like, specific parts of the picture, like her eyes and things like that, puts pins through them, and then puts them into her shoes and steps into it. And when she screams, it's just so hilarious because it's like she didn't think it would hurt that bad.
Yeah.
Like she thought pain in the service of the Lord would, like, wash over her. You know?
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, fuck.
Yep.
But then she committed to it. Like, she went out on the town.
Oh my God. Every step.
Fucking uncomfortable.
Every step has a sound that you can hear what it feels like.
You could feel that motherfucker through the screen.
She's crunching around town, and just her face, like, she's, like, smiling, and she's just like, I'm doing it. And she's just like, ow. It's amazing acting.
Beautiful performance
on the part of Morfydd Clark. She's just
absolutely
like in agony, but loving it because it's her godly duty.
Yep. And I put this is where she strikes up the conversation with the nurse later on after this kind of like a little montage thing of her just walking around.
Oh yeah, she like goes around town looking for. She bumps into the nurse.
Yeah.
I noticed at this point. So the movie's very, very dark. These like greens and reds and yellows, and then it's blacks are
at night or indoors.
Heavy shadows, very dark blacks all throughout the film.
Yeah,
and her eyes are very dark. She has like these dark, beady little eyes. And when she's walking around town, like before she runs into the nurse, the sun is in her eyes, and she has a blue eye and a brown eye.
Yes.
And I don't know whether she always did or she does now.
She doesn't always, but she does in that scene and then in one other scene.
Oh, really?
She has that, which is like definitely sort of implying like the good angel and the evil angel.
Yep.
Because it's the like brown is like a very red brown.
Yeah, and it's just like these are the two sides of like belief and what religion can do. Like it can be good and it can be bad, and then she like is obviously leaning towards one way, even though at any point she's like not beyond saving until like the very end.
Yeah, exactly. So she she's talking with the nurse, and we kind of went over it. Was like how are that must be very hard for you to kind of do.
Yeah,
and
Maud
you
is
don't
pretending
have,
to be a civilian. She doesn't say anything about being the former nurse or a nurse at all. She's like, oh, I really admire medical professionals. What is it like for you? She's just like doing intel.
She's like, yeah, no, it's very, very rewarding. It can be kind of difficult when it's over. She just says when it's over, and she's like, oh, when you have to leave, and she's like, no, when they die.
Yeah, very matter of fact.
Yeah,
and like there's a realm of jealousy there because she's like, oh, do you think of your patient? And the nurse is like, oh, we're buddies.
We get along great right now.
Great friendship. And Maud is like, the fuck you do.
and then she says something about like it must be really tough giving up all of your time and stuff to this. And then she's like, oh no, I got choir practice. I got things in my life. Like I live a life. And you could tell that she's just like pissed off immediately.
Yep, that woman is probably religious.
I put the last thing that might have been the last straw for her was when she litters.
Oh yeah, the nurse casually finishes her sandwich and tosses the wrapper, which is like, for you and me, normal fucking people, that would be the first red flag. You'd be like, oh, that's not cool.
Yeah.
But like for Maud, it's like she's already angry about all these little stupid things, and she's just like, that's the last straw for her.
Fucking bitch.
Yeah, and the nurse is like, I'm Esther, what's your name? And Maud just leaves.
Takes off, bounces.
Yeah.
Back at home, she sees the same bug that's been lingering around.
This is a hell of a scene.
This is beautiful. At nighttime, she's in her bed, and the bug kind of crawls down her wall, and she looks over at it, and it's on the floor, and it goes towards the shelf that had the crucifix on it.
Her little altar.
And when it walks underneath the shelf, I don't know if you noticed it, but there's like an energy fucking field wave
there's a pulse in the air.
A pulse that happens right behind the wall. And she walks up to it, and then you hear a voice, a disembodied voice, start speaking to her in Welsh. And presumably this is this presence that she's been in contact with this whole time. This is the voice. And it's telling her that she needs to take on this last test, that she's known all of her life, that everything, that there was something more, that she was meant for more, that the world itself was a game, that her family, her mom, her dad, all of it was just in service of something greater. And that she knew that she knew all along that there was something more important for her to do.
Which is interesting because like she just became religious, so like he's indicating to her that she's always known something.
And it's also, again, antithetical to the actual like religion that she proclaims to be a part of. Like, you're not supposed to be special. Nobody's special. Only Jesus is special.
She just can't resist the notion that she's a chosen one.
Yeah,
she wants to be a martyr. She wants to be a martyr. She wants to be known for, going down because she was the realist Christian or whatever, the most devoted soldier of God ever.
And I think again it points to like she's probably never read like one bit of scripture. Like she does not understand the religion. She's like, God speaks directly to me. That can't happen because you would like burst into flames and die, because that's like what the Bible says. It's like God's voice and his visage is like too much for humans to comprehend, and that's why the Metatron, the Archangel Michael, is I called God a woman. Oh no, it's God's it's God's mouthpiece. The Metatron comes down and speaks for God because you cannot speak to God. Yeah, exactly.
Alanis Morissette will speak on your...
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the same thing. Like, she doesn't even know that. So to her, she's like, I'm just talking to God. And it's just like, if you like did any of your homework to join the religion you're in, like, you would know that doesn't make sense.
And it's just it's a very spooky voice. It's very deep.
Oh, it's so well mixed.
Deep, pitched down voice. A little fun thing for those who've read stuff. It's her voice.
Oh, that's cool.
That's so cool.
That's the actress's voice.
Very
down.
Cool.
Welsh is a very interesting language.
It's beautiful.
It does sound ancient to the American ear.
We see the visitation from the presence. And she's like, okay, I have one last test. I need to do this last thing. She's like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get ready for it. She's getting ready, and it's game day. She's got her robe, her wardrobe. She's done. And
she has a blessed bottle of water.
She's blessing her bottle of water, lays out, littered her apartment with bottles of acetone as well. And her friend Joy pops back in. I don't know.
she's an advocate.
Joy pops back in now.
Sympathetic shoulder.
Joy pops back in just to say hi on her quick hi and bye way to work.
And she drops some more like details to the past, because she's like, we knew you were struggling and no one reached out to you, and you sort of get the idea that like they were in a nursing program, and the idea is like you each are assigned to a patient, and you take care of the patient within your means, like with supervision, and it's just like everyone knew you weren't doing well, and then you're patient coded, and you should have called somebody, but because of the isolation you tried to fix it yourself, and then that happened.
It's a very important talk that came way too late. Like, Joy is talking about all this like, we should have been here, we should have been a supportive.
She's essentially saying I'm sorry.
And Maud is not listening.
Mm-hmm.
Just staring out the window.
We can't even hear, like, Joy's audio just drops out because Maud is, like, looking at the clouds.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, this is when she sees the sparrow. Yeah. My bad. Yeah.
The clouds are twisting, and her eye, one eye is blue, one eye is so red, brown. Cool. Like, she is gone already. Mm-hmm. And then she just, like, kisses Joy on the cheek and is like, okay, you can leave now. I've got shit to do. Yeah.
And I put Katie, quote unquote, is spaced out looking at spirals in the sky.
Yeah.
She keeps talking to her that. And Maud returns to Amanda's place and lets herself in. She's in full wardrobe.
Do you guys remember the shot where the moon is like 8 times larger than it's supposed to be?
No, that's awesome.
When she's on her way out to the house, the moon is fucking enormous.
Well, it kind of makes sense because when it ends, well, we'll get there. Yeah,
it's just like absurdly large.
Maud lets herself in, and the electricity is kind of like dimming in and out. It's like fading, and it's like pulsing. And you're just like, ooh, this is
God is here.
Yeah, God is in this house. And she walks up to Amanda's room, and she's in bed and just kind of like with a breathing tube on, and like she's just there.
She's not doing well.
She's not doing well. She's at the very end for sure. And Amanda apologizes for how she acted, and then she's just like, I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have acted that way, but you must be the loneliest girl I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that's a beautifully delivered line.
A little bit of end of life honesty.
And then
she's
Maud,
trying to save Maud, which is so sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
She's like, he isn't real, and you need to know that. Like, you have to know that, right? Like,
And then Maud, with the holy water that she made in her sink, she tries to bless her,
but she's like...
And she's reacting like Amanda was like, is that acetone in the bottle? Because like,
that's what I thought.
Because she reacts like it's like burning her, but it's really just like she's just like, knock it off, stop being ridiculous, like just confront it. I'm dying. You were in healthcare. You have to live with these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then she was just like that again. That's her being like, nope, not true, which is solidified in the fact that Amanda just goes full demon mode.
She just turns into a demon right there.
Starts laughing at her, being like, you're a fucking idiot.
And she's like, it was so easy to make you doubt your faith.
Exactly.
And then this is what solidifies it to me. Amanda, the demon Amanda, throws her back and she breaks a mirror. And she picks up a shard of broken glass and runs forward and stabs the shit out of her with it.
I thought it was scissors.
Well, it was...
No, so this is to me what does it. When she falls back, you see her grab the shard of glass after it breaks, and she stabs her with that. And then as things like, there's sort of like a transitional shot that almost seems to bring you from delusion back into reality, and you see the scissors sticking out of her neck that Maud brought from home.
And there's no broken mirror.
Yes. So it's just like,
oh my God,
she said God's not real, and then she was just like, she's a demon, kill her.
Yep.
Yeah.
And exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then like that's another thing that is blending that fantastical part with the reality. It's fucking beautifully done. And then after she's done with that, you see the scissors hanging out of her chest, and she's like levitates out of the house. And
she just floats away.
It's a gorgeous fucking shot.
Covered in blood.
Yeah.
Covered in blood. And like the moon, like you're talking about, the moonlight is fucking bright as shit. Like it just seems like unnaturally bright at this point.
Maud is like full delusional. She's like, I did it. I did the last thing I needed to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then surprise, you've got wings now. She wakes up. She got a pair of wings.
Next morning, glowing wings. She's like, sweet. Let's go.
She just, and it's game time, baby. Showtime for the Lord.
She puts on a fresh sheet, her robe.
Her new robe,
and her cross. She looks very old world.
With her big rosary.
A big rosary. Yeah, exactly. She walks up to the boardwalk area that we've been seeing this whole time. Walks onto the beach. And takes a bag with her. It's full of the acetone, as you find out. She's got the bag in one hand. Is she holding anything else? I don't think she's holding anything else.
She's just carrying the bag with the big jug in it.
That's right. Yeah. Goes, plants it down,
and there's a portal in the clouds that shows her where God wants her to do this
thing. It's like X marks the spot.
Yeah.
She walks up, pours the acetone over herself, and as you're seeing people in the background are starting to notice, and they all start looking at her like, wait, like somebody stop her, like screaming out. And as she flicks the lighter on in her hand, you see like this very angelic image of like her becoming like sort of like an angel,
glowing with wings, and people are falling to their knees.
They all like stop. It's so fucking well done. It's
she says glory to God,
and then everyone just drops on their knees, and then it's this beautiful image, and like it's kind of like that painting, like you were saying, it almost reflects that painting back.
Yeah,
and then we cut right back to what's actually happening, and she is fucking on fire.
Just all of her skin boiling off. Yeah.
Agony. And then it's
screaming.
Just cut to black. and then it's credits. That's it.
And I think that shot and the scissors really like nail down that, you know, she's not well. And that's just a lot of delusions. I would say it's a strong 4. I don't think I'm going to revisit it, and I think I got a lot of the subtext on the first go-around, which is not, like, a bad mark to a film. Like, that doesn't make a movie bad, but, like, I feel like it did what it did well, but I'm not itching to revisit it necessarily.
Gotcha. Evelyn?
I would say 5 out of 6, just because it's so, visually, it's so on point with itself. Like it's just such a well designed, especially a first film. I know like it's a qualifier, of course, but like the cinematography, the color theory, the symbolism, the character is such a unique, and the situation that she's in, I've never seen anything like it. Again, like the rewatch factor for me, I don't think is as high as some films, but like it's so impressive. Yeah, and unique.
I'll bump mine up to a 5 because you're right. The visuals are so damn impressive, and the way that it ties in this like sort of theme with William Blake's work is really interesting.
Yeah, like I would say a 5 as well, but just that scene, the levitation scene, just puts it over the top for me. So I'm gonna give it a 6, but just because there's so many things in the movie that I have not seen explored in these ways, and it's beautifully done. It's so subtly done. It's so intricately like woven in between fantasy and reality, and I think that's it. It makes it for like you said, may not be a high rewatch value.
It's just such a well-made
film, but it's
film.
A perfect fucking package of a movie. Like
so, I have to run, but I want to ask my question for this week because I thought it was really good. So I'll ask it and I'll answer it, and then I'll get out of here, and you two can answer it and like close things down without me.
Got you.
But before I do that, I just want to say, so when I was like looking up this William Blake stuff, this is a poem of his called The Nurse's Song. When the voices of children are heard on the green and whisperings are in the dale, the days of my youth will rise fresh in my mind, my face turns green and pale. Then come home, my children, the sun is gone down and the dews of night arise. Your spring and your day are wasted in play, and your winter and night in disguise.
Bars, bro.
And I feel like that,
Bars.
Like that's what kind of made me want to bump it up to a 5, was like stuff like that, where it's like it's so intrinsically tied into all these different themes of this person's work who I'm not very familiar with, you know. I just wanted to know what these paintings were, to know what this thematic reference was, but it seems like his literary work and his visual work, you know. But my question for this week is like, have you ever had a paranormal experience or like thought you were having one? And I will say, when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I shared a room with my brother, and it was like a bunk bed situation. So he was below me and I was on top, and he had a mirror hung up on the wall. And one night I like woke up and I looked over the edge of my bed and I saw like a face looking at me from the mirror. And I was just like terrified, and I felt like I couldn't move. Horrifying. And then eventually I looked at the mirror again and I saw like hands come out and like something start to pull itself out of the mirror.
Oh my God.
And I got super scared and I couldn't move. and I tried to like scream, but I couldn't scream. And then finally I was able to move, and I jumped up and I ran to my mom's room, and I was like, oh my God. And then, cut to 7 or 8 years later, I started having a lot of dreams of like similar situations where it felt like I was awake, and like people in white masks like looking at me and stuff like that. So I've had night terrors my whole life.
Yeah, like sleep paralysis.
And that was the first time I ever had it. And for years I thought I had like had a paranormal experience. And then when these things, and I have them like to this day, but yeah, I just realized like, oh, that's what that was. Like there's a plausible explanation, but I thought it kind of tied in here.
There's an important part where things get diagnosed.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. All right, so have fun answering that. I'll have fun listening when this airs.
All right, you guys.
All right.
Say bye to Skeptic.
Bye.
See you later.
Later. Had fun.
Peace.
Yeah.
So, that's a good one. Have you?
Oh man, I wish. I am married to a deeply haunted boy. He also has not sleep paralysis, but night terrors, and he's seen all kinds of things. And I've heard all of these stories many times. And I've also, sleeping next to him, witnessed him seeing a lot of things that aren't there. The only thing that I've remotely experienced is he took me to, one of those haunted spots, which is like a haunted bridge where there are ghosts that, you drive onto the bridge, you honk 3 times, you do all that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd heard all these amazing stories of it. And I'm one of those people that so desperately wants to experience anything.
You want it too hard.
Yeah. For reference, it's the Edna Collings Bridge in Indiana. And, we were on the bridge and we did the thing, and with the windows rolled down, I could hear like wet footprints, like with footsteps on the bridge, which tracks with the ghost story that's involved in the bridge. And as someone who is really, really wants to experience something but is 100% a skeptic about that kind of thing, like hearing that was pretty remarkable.
You couldn't really explain it.
Wow, that's really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
It's a bridge over a creek, so you could argue like the sounds of water or whatever, but like it very much sounded like bare feet, bare wet feet. And I was like, I'm in a scary movie right now. We should probably go though.
Just in case.
That's I haven't really experienced anything other than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, a weird one to kind of bring up, but my family is kind of steep. That's why this one is always interesting, or like this subject matter is always interesting, because my family lineage was like kind of steeped in like not black magic, but like they practiced magic, like just in my family. And my dad had like filled us in on it one time. I remember like we were all just kind of sitting around, and he just kind of told me like he walked in on this was in Mexico. He walked in on an exorcism essentially being done.
Yeah.
And
very alarming.
Yeah, yes. It's not a normal fucking Tuesday. But he walked in, and apparently whatever entity was in the person being possessed kind of hopped into my father.
Oh.
And like, so this was like a thing that had kind of tormented him for years apparently. And this was the story that we were kind of told. So going back, I think it's a lot of undiagnosed mental illness, and there's a lot of things that are there for sure.
But it had an effect.
Yeah, it had an effect for sure. Like, like I remember one time, like, he was like behaving very weirdly, like just strangely, and it's just like, what the fuck? This doesn't, like, I know my dad,
right?
And like,
this doesn't track.
This doesn't seem like my dad. Yeah, and it was just like, it was just weird. It was a weird, like, kind of night. It wasn't anything like violent or anything. It was just like, it was like weird, like he was like crouching weird and like kind of like mumbling things that just kind of didn't make sense. And again, could have been a manic episode. Very, very possible. Very possible. But when you're steeped within this, like, world of like, this is very much a thing, you know, like this is because again, I'm coming from a heavily like Catholic background, so like this like was real. There was no like, oh, this is just hypothetical, this is just stories, like this was just fucking matter of fact. The devil is real and he's coming to get you.
Yeah.
You know? So for being someone like who was growing up with that, and so like, you know, it's scary. Mm-hmm. It's scary to look at.
Anything
you know,
you don't understand is
exactly
scary.
Like you can't explain this shit. And like, and as I got older, you know, I leaned into learning more about mental illness and stuff, and just kind of like trying to find reasons for these things, you know. And a lot of the things, like you said, like there are some things that I've experienced that I just can't fucking explain. Like I am a very logical person. I like to think that I'm very, you know, open-minded as well, but I like to think I have a high skeptic, you know, side to me these days. Like I really like to think rationally, and
if
like,
you can find a reason for something, you should
absolutely
try to.
Absolutely. Like I think rationally every single moment that I get a chance to, but there are things, like you said, there's just weird occurrences, you know, it's just fucking strange seeing things like, you know, Skeptic was saying, like, I've dealt with sleep paralysis fucking for years, like, it was, I haven't had, in a long time, an occurrence, so, you know, please, hopefully, there's some wood right there, I'm gonna go, yeah, but when it would happen, it was fucking terrifying. Like, you know, I would hear one of the big things for me was right as I was falling asleep in the right before REM sleep, I would hear a helicopter whirring is the only way I could describe that. It was like a woof 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 woof, and it got like louder and louder and closer to my ear, and it would. When it stopped and reached like a climax, that was when my body snapped into this like paralyzed state. Ugh. Yeah, and I could feel that I couldn't move. You know what I mean? Like it was
really scary.
Oh, it's horrifying. Like it's easily the worst fucking thing that I've ever experienced. But I would have certain things, like I wouldn't see visually, but I can see, like when my eyes were closed, I could like make out faces like in the room, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or like I could make out like things, and like one
things that you spend so much time in your waking hours looking at faces. Like this is your brain doing all kinds of crazy shit.
Exactly. Yeah. The one that got me the hardest though is one of the worst times was like I heard the whirring in my head, and it was just like getting closer and louder, and then all of a sudden I heard a little girl's voice ask hello, and then snapped into the paralyzed state. It was fucking terrifying.
Am I connecting to someone
else?
Exactly.
It was like hello, and then it was just like snap into it, and I couldn't fucking move. Like it was I absolutely fucking hate it. So like this subject matter really, it fascinates me. It always resonates with me, because it's always like, there's this movie does a great job of like, is it in her head? Is it real? We don't know, and that's why I think like little column A, little column B, because they can both affect the outcome. They can have an effect on the ending. You know,
you can watch it with either one in mind. This is the first time. I was only the second time I've seen the film, but I've had a lot of debates with people about what is possible to interpret from it, and this time I watched it solely with the mindset that it's schizophrenia and epileptic fits. Yeah. And, you know, of course, it's masterfully done.
Yeah, which is interesting, though, because, like, schizophrenics generally aren't a danger to people. They're a danger more to themselves than anything. And
I think there's a lot of stacked
exactly, like, things. It's a lot of, it's but, like, that also seems to be an ongoing thing in horror movies, though. It's like, they always try to, like, blame schizophrenia for
it's a catch-all.
So it's it's not...
There's a way to deal with mental illness. But, yeah, like, I think, aside from that, everyone has a breaking point.
Yeah.
And she found her rock bottom.
Absolutely.
And, she made some choices. She didn't think that they were choices.
Made some choices. I think overall, though, it's a movie very much worth your time, the listener. You should please go and if you haven't watched it, I don't know why you listen to this, but thank you. But just, go back and do yourself a favor.
Go watch it. Well, at this point, yeah.
Yeah, and
go
if you
watch
have,
it again.
Exactly. If you have seen it, go watch it again.
And look for the little things.
Yeah, no, all these things that you kind of pick up, because I've had people from when we released the Titan episode, the other week, it was like I had people coming out of the woodwork being like, yo, I watched this movie in preparation of the show, and it made so much more sense.
Nice.
And I want to go back and watch it again. Like, I have multiple people coming at me and like saying like, I want to watch this movie again now because you guys talked about it.
For sure. Yeah.
You know what that means to me, bro?
It's pretty cool to hear that. Yeah.
It is so. I'm gonna go ahead and like speak on our everyone's behalf for a second, dude. Thank you guys so fucking much, dude. Like, genuinely, it has been so goddamn cool to see the reaction online, like that people are genuinely picking up what we're putting down, man. Like, it is so much fun to talk about these movies and get people involved, and like that's all we want to do is just get people watching movies, man. Like, talk about them, and like we'll drop our socials and stuff. You guys can actually get in on the conversation yourself. We want to get to a point, hopefully, where we could read movie reviews from you guys, from the listeners, on the show. So you want to go ahead and email us, you can email us at thedevilsworkpodcast@gmail.com. We are on Instagram at thedevilsworkpod, and on Facebook at The Devil's Work Podcast. We are also on Letterboxd.
Yeah, we got a list going on there.
Got a whole list growing. Email us with your reviews, reactions to the show. We're here. We want to listen to you, man.
Yeah.
We're tired of listening to us.
We talk too much.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us, man. It was so much fun. We will be back next week for a very, very thick episode. I think this is going to be...
It's a beefy one.
This is going to be a very dense one. Might be another two-parter.
Our first Korean film.
It's going to be incredible. I am so excited. Memories of Murder is like one of the fucking coolest like crime movies I've ever seen. It's so fucking beautiful.
Bong Joon-ho is a goddamn legend. Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Thank you guys so much. Please, like I said, follow us on everything. Like, comment, subscribe. Please leave a review wherever you're listening to this. Help us keep doing the devil's work, man.
And God bless you.
God
May
bless
God never waste your pain.
God bless us, everyone.